They were given basically a spousal report card. Rank your spouse on things like kindness, generosity, and patience. And the only common denominator were the ones who ranked their spouse higher in every category than the spouse had ranked themselves. So if I say, or if you say, hey, Greg, I rank him a 9 in generosity, and he ranks himself a 7, that's an indicator of a great marriage. In other words, it's two people saying, I wish you could just see you like I see you.
Oh, yeah.
And so happy couples think in a way that unhappy couples don't. And it's just so important for us to wrap our heads around this because, our thoughts are not our actions and they're not our attitudes, but they lead to both.
Yeah, they do.
And so much what I did for so long was to focus on actions and attitudes. But when we step back and we go, what was I thinking before I said that? What was I thinking before I do that? How do I look at my spouse? When we back up and get intentional with our thoughts, Scripture, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
Take every thought captive.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wire Talk. Today, we are in the middle of our marriage series for September. And I don't know about y'all, but I am loving this series. Honestly, I'm looking at my own marriage and I'm just like, falling more and more in love with Greg after all these tips that everyone has given us, and it's just been so amazing. So today we have a very special guest in our studio. He's written a new book and it's called Us in Mind, and it is excellent. So I cannot wait for you to hear him. It's going to be fabulous.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Wire Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a fun episode. We have a guest speaker. We are continuing talking about marriage, and Mom and I are going to introduce a good friend of yours.
Yes.
His name's Ted Lowe. You've known him for quite some time.
Yeah, 23 years.
So how did you and Ted, it was Church World that y'all met, right?
Yeah, I was on staff at North Point.
Yep.
And then, why are you looking at me like that?
I'm not looking at you like
Y'all, she's looking at me a funny way. But anyways, no.
You're just normally over there.
I know. We're sitting next to each other because we've been in a whole day of recording here, and we're getting a little slap happy. But I was on staff at North Point Church, and Ted was brought in to lead Married Life Live. And as y'all will get to know him today, he's just an amazing guy. He's fun. He's funny. He's rich with wisdom. And I fell in love with his wife, Nancy. She's
sweet.
A doll. She's someone that I know, and I've had multiple conversations with her throughout the years. But she's just somebody that I would even like to get closer to. You know what I mean? But
Absolutely.
our paths just don't ever cross that much. But
yes.
I love her. She's great.
Well, what I love about this month, because we've been talking about marriage, and it's just been so enlightening and fun and exciting. But we were talking about this just a little bit ago. Everything that we're learning about marriage through these guest speakers and through these questions it doesn't have to be these difficult things. It's little things, little shifts, and little things that we can do every day to make our marriage stronger.
Right.
And kind of like what Arlene Pellicane said, is it's easy, you know what I mean? And they're not
Sometimes
hard.
I think we make it difficult, and it doesn't need to be difficult. And I tell you, Ted's interview, well, I loved Arlene's too, but Ted's interview was so good, so practical. I'm going to have all of my son-in-laws and my son. I'm going to suggest, I've never done this, but I'm going to suggest that they listen to it not necessarily with their wife, but, they can listen to it separately, but I want the husband and the wife to listen to it.
Yes. So I hope you are in a comfortable spot so you can listen, because it's a great episode. So buckle up and let's introduce Ted into the studio.
So
Hey,
welcome,
friends.
Ted.
Thanks for having me.
I know. I've known you forever. I don't even know. When were you first hired at North Point?
2002.
Okay, so I've known you since then.
That's a long time.
It's a long
We're
time.
those people now.
We are those people.
That we used to go, that probably Emily's going, yeah, old.
They're old.
Well, no, because I used to babysit your kids when they were little.
I know.
So, I mean, that makes me feel old. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's so crazy.
It's crazy.
That is so crazy.
So I know a lot about you and Nancy, of course, your lovely, lovely wife. But tell our audience a little bit about you. How long have you been talking about marriages?
We just feel like that this is what God has put on, at least my heart. I feel like, marriage is my thing. It feels like where God's want me to speak into to people in ministry. And so I started focusing on marriage. Nancy and I, remember back in the day when they do skits?
Yes.
They used to bring us in to do skits at these, and we'd be in arena events, and then we'd walk up the stage and fight in the green room. And I was like, what's wrong with this picture?
I love that.
But we started listening to some of the experts, and we're like, oh, it doesn't have to be like this. And so we started North Point in 2001. We started creating marriage events. We did that for almost 10 years.
Right.
And then we started creating curriculum, and then now I'm still speaking and writing and all that fun stuff.
So how long have y'all been married?
We've been married for 30 years.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Greg and I,
Yeah,
39.
she's the best.
She is the best.
She's the
funny.
best. Oh
She's
my gosh.
just level-headed. Nancy's the best.
She's beautiful.
She sure is. And and the reason I love getting to do what I get to do is the first years were tough.
Sure.
And we learned a few simple things that really made a difference. And so now I'm like, okay, let's keep it simple for folks. But we love getting to do what we get to do.
All right, now catch me up on the kids. How many kids do y'all have?
4.
Right, and then their ages?
Their ages are from 15 to 25.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Is anybody married?
Nobody's married, but there's one that's probably getting close to engagement.
Oh, my
the oldest
goodness.
one. So and we really like her. We like her a lot.
That's awesome. All right. Chapman, right?
Chapman, yes.
And
that's
you know
good
I have a
memory.
grandson, Chapman.
He's a fine
He's
name.
the only
There's
other
not many of
Chapman.
them.
I know. He's the only other Chapman I've ever known.
I know. He'll tell me because I like my name.
I know.
I always like my
It's
name.
a good name.
Yeah.
It is a good name.
Our chap likes his name too. Okay, well, just to let the audience know, Ted wrote a book called Us in Mind. Y'all need to check this out. And if you send me a couple copies, we'll give some away.
Absolutely. I was supposed to bring them, but I'm still me. And I forgot.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Well, good thing we live like 20 minutes from each other.
Absolutely. That'll be easy.
But y'all, we'll make sure we send those out. To
And then in the
winners and all
show,
that.
and then in the show notes, we'll link where you can get the book. So we'll talk about that at the end,
Oh, cool.
like where they can get the book too.
All right, I've got our first question here. So, Ted, when you open up the book by suggesting that great marriages are different from struggling ones, what do you mean by that?
This was the hugest part for me to write this book because I didn't want to write another book.
Right. It's hard writing a book.
Oh, and said I had ADHD before it was a thing. And so I thought, I just really felt led to do it because during COVID, I had a little extra time on my hands for some reason. And I'd always wanted to do a deep dive on the research of couples that were happy. Because so much of the marriage research is about couples who are really struggling in crisis.
Right.
And it's great. And we've learned so much. I use it all the time. But it was a little bit like, here's what couples are doing that are struggling. Don't do this.
Right.
And then I thought, I don't think a great marriage, is it the opposite of one that's struggling? Like a great podcast is not the opposite of one that's struggling. It's different. A great team, a great company. And so what they find out with struggling couples is like the reason that they're struggling holistically for a lot of them is they don't feel understood and they can't communicate, which makes you go, oh, okay. Happy couples then really know how to communicate. Man, they really got that nailed down. They've listened to all the podcasts and they know those reflective listening skills. They can do that. And what they found is, while that's logical, it wasn't the case. The only common denominator with couples that rated the highest level of marital satisfaction was this. They were asked, they were given basically a spousal report card. And they said, rank your spouse on things like kindness, generosity, and patience. And the only common denominator were the ones who ranked their spouse higher in every category than the spouse had ranked themselves. In other words, so if I say, or if you say, hey, Greg, I rank him a 9 in generosity, and he ranks himself a 7, that's an indicator of a great marriage. In other words, it's two people saying, I wish you could just see you like I see you.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And so happy couples think in a way that unhappy couples don't.
Uh-huh.
And it's just so important for us to wrap our heads around this because, our thoughts are not our actions and they're not our attitudes, but they lead to both.
Yeah, they do.
And so much what I did for so long and so many was to focus on actions and attitudes, which is so important. We'll continue to do that. But when we step back and we go, what was I thinking before I said that? What was I thinking before I do that? How do I look at my spouse? When we back up and get intentional with our thoughts, Scripture, be transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Right.
Take every thought captive. And so I don't know about you guys, but no one told me in church or in school, hey, you need to question what you're thinking. You don't need to believe every thought that comes through your head.
Exactly.
We have between 16,000 and 64,000 thoughts a day.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I'm
Should
probably
we-
on the 64,000 side of things, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'm 128,000.
There you go.
Yeah, with ADHD. Yeah,
Yes, I feel you there.
yeah. I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I love that.
But it's so powerful to go, you know what? What would happen if we got intentional with a few thoughts that we're going to put in place to say, I'm not just going to let my thoughts be the boss of me. I'm going to be intentional. And we know how powerful that is in other arenas of life. It's a coach that can change the mindset of a kid that's a really great athlete, but they can't get out of their head.
Yeah.
It's the athlete that's really great, but because he's got such positive mindset, he's not even that great of an athlete, but he becomes because his mindset is right. And so if this is true in business, this is true in everything we do. When we get intentional about what we're thinking, it changes our actions.
That's so true. I love that.
Well, you write that a better marriage is possible for most people, but it starts in the mind, kind of like how you're
Right.
keeping your thoughts captive. Why do our thoughts carry so much weight in shaping our relationships?
Yeah, and maybe I jumped the gun a little bit on what I was just explaining, but I think that's what it is. It gets ahead of those things. Our brains think in story and pattern and narrative. I think that's why Jesus used stories all the time. And so what happens is we will, for example, the way you think about your spouse, your brain will create a narrative and characterize them in a certain way, and then it will live as if it's true. So if you declare that your husband is, use words like always and never. He never comes home on time. He always leaves me to do everything around the house. That will become true. You will only see that. Or if you say so negative, you'll only hear the negative words and you'll miss all the other ones. So, it's confirmation bias. We find what we're looking for.
That's true.
That's very true.
Right.
Wow. This is deep. This
Sorry,
is
we went deep
for
quick.
you.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. Okay, you introduced the idea of positive illusions as something that helps couples stay madly in love. What is a positive illusion, and how is it different from denial?
Oh, I love this one because this was from a lady who did research, Dr. Helen Fisher, on couples who had been married an average of 21 years who reported using words madly in love. And I love it when a scientist uses words like madly in love. But they did brain research on these couples, and they found that they had 3 areas of the brain that had higher level of brain activity. And one of them was the part of the brain that's responsible for a thing called positive illusions. And positive illusion is the ability to focus on what you do love about your spouse and not focus as much on what you don't.
Right.
And so that I'll tell couples, I'll say, let the view of what you love about
Right.
your spouse block the view of what you don't. And you say, how is this not living in denial? Well, that's where I bring in Philippians 4:8. Paul's very clear of how we're to think and to be intentional, but he starts with what's true. Whatever's true, whatever's noble. I mean, if you have those 2 words. And so if somebody is being abused emotionally or physically, here's what's true about that. That's got to stop. That can't be.
Right.
And that truth is a great protector.
Yeah.
But for most of us, there's what is true about our spouse. Yeah, what's true is that, they can drive me crazy and they've got these quirks. But here's what's also true. Man, they love my kids. Or man, they work hard every day. Or man, they had a really hard childhood and didn't have a great dad, but boy, he tries. And so it's this posture of, I'm going to focus on what I love, right?
That's
I'm
right.
going to focus, and I'm going to be intentional about that.
I love that. I was talking with a mom the other day, about a month ago, and her husband's a doctor. He's in his residency. They have 2 little ones. Life's hard.
Sure.
He comes in from his night shift.
Yeah.
Her and the kids are waking up. It's like 2 ships passing in the night.
Oh,
and
man, that's a
she's
lot.
just like, it's so hard for her because she's in the trenches with, a baby and a 3-year-old. And we've all been there. But her husband's not home. So she was, telling me, not complaining, but telling me how hard it was and all this.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I totally understand and I've been there, but this is what you have to remind yourself. He's doing this for you and the girls and your family. He loves you more than anything in life because I've known them since they dated. And I just said, And yes, this is hard right now, but it's worth the payout in the long run. For him to be a surgeon, for him to, be successful and to do what he loves. And you are able to stay home with these girls. And he's working so hard. So it's going to be hard these next 3 years.
Absolutely.
We're not even trying to dumb that down, but you got to keep the truth at the forefront of your mind. And even as I was saying, he loves you so much, she was like nodding her head with tears in her eyes. Like she knows that.
Right.
So I'm just I'm doing exactly what you're saying. I'm trying to remind her, what is the truth here? And she said, you're right. I just need to keep reminding myself that. So I love that you're writing about this in this book.
Perfect example.
Yes.
What's true, and you told her what's true. What's true is this is really hard right now.
Right.
That is so true.
Yeah.
But then you told her what's true. And what I'll say, Philippians 4:8 helps us to see the best. If I had to give, moms, wives, if I had to give them 3 words, of the 5 intentional thoughts, one of them is see the best.
Right.
Like, okay, I got to see the best. He's doing this for our family. I got to see the best. This is great for the long run. I got to see the best. He can't help this. He's not creating this schedule.
Right.
This is something we signed up for.
Right.
And so it's just so powerful. And we get married and we start adulting and kids are driving us crazy and biting at our ankles. And it's so hard to see. The number one time that couples fight is when they reconnect at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's because we compare each other. Oh, your day was bad.
Right.
Oh, well, you've not been home with little people all day. You take it, you know. But I think it's those moments of just seeing. It's so important, and it just changes things. And we can be intentional about it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's so
I love
good.
that. This is already so good.
I know. I'm like taking mental notes.
I know. I'm like, listen, we've talked about marriage all month, and I just think it's good to talk about because if you're not talking about it, then you're not working on it. And just like when you're dating, you have to work to get closer. And in marriage, you can't just let it fall to the backside.
That's right.
Because it is a relationship and you have to work at it for it to be good. So, and that doesn't mean get bad. It makes it good.
Hey, mamas, have you ever wished that Karen would come to your community and speak to the moms in your church? Well, it's time to stop wishing. We are booking speaking engagements for 2026 right now. And Karen would love to come teach her life-changing content on temperaments, discipline, and all things motherhood to the moms at your church. Booking is easier than you think. If you're part of a church community that has resources to host outside speakers, head to boaw.mom/booking and fill out a simple form. We would love to partner with you to bring Karen and her practical parenting wisdom to your town. So head to boaw.mom/booking and fill out an inquiry form today. All right, let's get back to the show.
You make a strong case that knowing who God says we are is foundational for marriage. Can you speak on how we think about ourselves, our identity, and self-worth show up in daily interactions with our spouse?
This one was from the chapter that I cut and pasted.
Okay.
3 or 4 times. Because the question from this chapter was, what do you think about yourself? What do you think about yourself? And one of the things that I've always struggled with is that. What do I think about myself? I won't get into all the reasons of why of that, but it was, in fact, I gave him a name. I called him Fred in my head.
I love that.
And my Fred was a jerk. My Fred, it was constant. And what I found was when we start thinking like that, so let me give you an example. So for moms, you're at home, your kids are driving you crazy. You've just been with another mom and their kids are just so polite. And well behaved, and your kids are not. And you're thinking, if I could just do this better. You look around the house, my house is a wreck, or I can't get my work done, all those things. And what your Fred in the head will say is, if only you would, or even call you names going, you're a slop, or you are inept, and he will do that. And so the reason I cut and paste it is I get really real about some of the things he said to me, because if you're thinking all those things, and then you reconnect with your husband at the end of the day, with all that rolling around your head, how do you think that's going to be?
Yeah.
Are you able to see the best in him? Or are you just sitting in your hurt, which is understandable? But Scripture is so clear, and we forget how God sees us and how he loves us. And so the intentional thought there is remember who you are And if you're a follower of Jesus, remember whose you are.
Mhm.
And I think about, how does he speak to us? Well, he says, you can call me Abba, Father.
Mhm.
You are mine. You're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Right.
And just to sit in that instant, I'm going to push back what Fred's saying
Mm-hmm.
and listen to what God said.
God
He
says.
said, you're no longer a slave to fear.
Mm-hmm.
You have been adopted,
Mm-hmm.
and you can cry, Abba, Father. That's who we are. And I'd forgotten it. And we as followers of Jesus, and it's just got to sit in this realization. And then we're not trying to get our spouse to be God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, so powerful. And there's so much healing there. And I give an exercise in the book called Getting Fred Out of Your Head.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on, you guys probably know the counseling world, the automatic negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And the success rate of ant therapy is huge. It's been around for 35 years. But when you add scripture to it,
Oh, yeah.
it's so powerful. And it's been so fun getting to teach it. And like I said, I was going to cut and paste it.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been more sticky for so many people. People come up, and this guy, he was a millionaire for sure, maybe a billionaire. He's 75 years old, and he goes, my Fred's been mean to me my whole life.
Wow.
And, a lady was 83, and she said, I finally know what to call him, and I know how to get out.
There you
Oh,
go.
wow, that's so powerful.
That's freedom right there. I love that.
It's amazing.
Well, you encourage readers to run their thoughts about their spouse through Philippians 4:8, which says, finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Why that filter specifically? Can you share an example of what reframing your thoughts looks like?
Yeah. I think that scripture specifically, because Paul is, talking to new believers, and hey, this is what Jesus means to your life. And he ends Philippians 4. He says, finally, brother. So he ends at the end of the day. It's so crucial how you're thinking and the grid. So the example in our life was, we lived in California, Southern California, our first 5 years of marriage, and I loved it and she liked it. But then we decided to move back to this area because this is where our families are, to start our family. And we made this decision together, no doubt about it. But when we got back, she really adjusted well, and I didn't. And I remember mowing the grass one day, and it's, here we're here in Georgia, it's 1,000,000 degrees. And I'm like, big old Georgia lawn, It's like, everybody said you need a big lawn. Why? I don't need to own a park. This is ridiculous. And I had this thought to go, Nancy loves it here, and I hate it here. I wonder if she just convinced me that I wanted to move here. And then I had a thought, and I said it was zero humor, and I'm not proud to say it, but maybe it'll be helpful for somebody. I thought, you know what? I think she always gets what she wants. I think she's manipulative. And when you hang that badge over your person, because how do you think? When I said, oh, she's manipulative, she called me for dinner. I'm like, oh, she's always trying to get me to eat.
She's just trying to get her way.
She's just trying to get her way. And I look back and I said, what if somebody come up and go, what was true? Well, here's what's true is we decided together. Here's what's also true. She's adjusting well and I'm not. Okay, let's talk about what's noble. Well, I'll tell you what's noble. She was 23. And she moved out to California, to my world, went to a job she didn't like, had to change grad schools, which meant she had to take extra classes. Her job was 1 hour each way, didn't complain, joined my friends, didn't know anybody. That's noble. So you don't move back to Georgia and become manipulative. That's not true. And so when we give our spouse the benefit of the doubt, when we take the intentional time, just get a little notebook or type it on your computer. It'll change things. And I love the end of this passage. It says, if there's anything excellent or worthy of praise, are they wiping something or somebody occasionally?
Right.
They go to work. Do they flush the toilet on the regular?
Yeah.
You got to start sometimes, and then you find what you're looking for.
Yep.
And then when you start seeing them differently, you start treating them differently.
You really do.
Yeah.
You really do. Go ahead and treat them like they're the person you want them to be.
I love that.
I love that. You kind of touched on this a little bit about like writing something down.
Mhm.
And why do you think that exercise, like writing something positive and encouraging about your spouse once a week, why do you think it's so helpful?
It's neurologically, when you write something down, it changes things.
Mm-hmm.
I think so many times we live in our thoughts and they're a little bit cloudy and they're a little all over the place. When we stop and we write them down, it's the same way when you think about thoughts about yourself and you write those down, you go, would Abba Father say this about me? Would he say that I'm stupid? Would he say that I'm a bad mom?
Mm-hmm.
Would he say this mom's better than me? No, of course he wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't say that to your kids.
No.
And so the same thing is when you write that down about your spouse and you start seeing it because you start looking for it. You're actually looking at them like you expect them to look at you,
Mm-hmm.
to give you the same amount of grace. Like, oh, doesn't he know?
Yeah.
Doesn't he know all the things that I do? Doesn't he know?
Right.
And so it just starts to change things. And then you start to talk differently to each other. And you let them know you see those things.
Yeah.
Brian travels a lot, and this past June he traveled a lot. Like he was in Cairo, he was in Malaysia,
Oh,
he was
wow.
in he was just everywhere. And before he left, he wrote, "Emily, I love you," and put it on my coffee maker. And I love my coffee in the morning. But even though he wasn't there, it was like the first thing I saw in the morning before, because my kids know, don't talk to me until I've had my cup of coffee. But it just kind of started my day off, even though he's told me that thousands of times during dating and marriage. But seeing that too, just like that he took the time to write it down.
Yeah.
It's still on, and it's just on a sticky note. It's nothing exciting, but it is exciting to me because it's like, oh, he does love me, and it is sweet, and it's just seeing that too as a receiver of those written things is just
Made a
powerful.
difference.
It makes a difference.
Oh, I think a pack of Post-it notes, and I've said this before, we even created them one time. I think a pack of Post-it notes could do a lot of great for a lot of marriages to say, by the end of the year, this is going to be done for thank yous and I love yous.
I
I love
it.
that.
It's
All right, you make the case that how we celebrate with our spouse is even more predictive of strong marriages than how we fight. That surprised me. So why do celebrations, and I love this because I love to celebrate, why do celebrations make such a difference?
Yeah, well, the great part is I didn't make this up, right? This is from a researcher came back. But they would watch couples and how they responded to each other, celebrated, was more predictive of strong relationship than, again, as they fight. And I always go back to Romans, where it says, rejoice with those rejoice and cry with those who cry. And when you think about empathy, that is we always think about being empathetic about the hard stuff, but empathy is about, Dr. John Gottman, let me back up. Dr. John Gottman defines empathy as the ability to identify and experience someone else's emotions. So you're not just going, I can identify, you're grouchy. It's like you get in there. And so
Sure.
think about it from this perspective. When something great happens in your life, you automatically want to tell somebody. And neurologically, the reason is those feel-good chemicals that great things happening are already going in your brain and body. It increases that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always say you want your person to be the person that they think of when something great happens. And so this comes down to the thing, when your spouse is smiling, you smile back. When they get excited about something that you could care less about, you just go, you're horrible. Look at you caring about that thing that I could care less about. Look at you watching sports. I could see you like a little boy. You love that so much. You work so hard. I love that this game that's driving me nuts. These squeaky basketball shoes are driving me nuts. But look at him go. I think it's those moments you rejoice. You want your person to be the person.
Yeah.
So moms does your husband think of you first because of the way you respond? And that's so hard because you're so distracted, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
do you think celebrating comes easier to some than others? Because I know like Greg is always like, oh, don't worry about a gift. Don't worry about that. And I'm like, no. It was our 25th anniversary. And I told Greg, I said, 25 years is a big deal.
Right.
So I'm going to get you a gift and I'm going to celebrate this. You don't have to necessarily, probably behoove you to get me one, but regardless of whether you do or not, I'm getting you a gift because this is worth celebrating. And he was like, well, okay, I'll do it. But I just think sometimes it just naturally comes easier to some, but we all need to get into that habit.
Right. If he's like, I'm not a gift person.
Yeah.
I don't care. I think this is even on a different level. This is when he says something that excites him, you look at his face
Yeah.
and you mimic, you don't mock the look on his face.
Right.
And it is soothing to the brain and it increases that joy.
Right.
And it's just, he mows the grass, he does whatever. You're going, you've been doing this for how many years? Did you say 38?
39.
39 years. And I love it every time.
Yeah.
The example that I always give of this is like, I will get through mowing the same lawn I've been mowing since 20 years. And I'll say, hey, Nancy, come on, shot. Come outside. I want to show you something. She comes out every time and I say, you always have the look on your face like this is the first time you've ever walked into a Buc-ee's.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, this is amazing. And I've learned when she brings in clothes that she's caught on sale for everybody, I used to, oh gosh, here we go. She wanted to show me each item one by one. And I'd be like, oh, come on. And now it's just like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it takes a minute.
I love
That's
that.
the thing about celebrating.
It's not long.
It's part of the natural rhythm of life.
Sure.
It's not a big date night. It's not a big gift. It's just an attitude.
I agree. I do love gifts, but I'm just saying, I think we all have to celebrate. It's just so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Big ways, small ways.
Yeah.
If you're a gift person.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. You touched a little bit when you were talking before you started talking about celebrations, but the empathy part. And that is such a big part of your book is empathy.
Mm-hmm.
So I am curious, can you share a moment when self-awareness changed how you responded to your wife?
Yeah, this is another one that's huge. I couldn't believe when I was studying what made happy couples happy, how important empathy was. Like I talked about 3 areas of the brain. One of the other areas was that part of the brain responsible for empathy. I'm just going to keep it real with you. I had to look up the definition. And it's...
Well, give us the definition because I think sometimes I confuse it with something else.
Well, it's the ability, and I'm going to butcher it because I'm so used to having a slide when I speak, but it's the ability to identify and experience someone else's emotions.
Okay, yeah.
So one example is, they use it for women. I teach this to men that women, when they're emotional and they're standing in an emotional puddle, what we can tend to do is try to yank them out with logic. And what they want you to do is step in the puddle.
100%.
And
we don't want you guys to fix it for us.
That's such a good analogy.
But listen, here's the admission here. As a guy, why 4 wet feet is the answer to 2 wet feet makes no sense.
That's true. That's
and
true.
Nancy, what was so much of our arguments is she would share something going on with her and I could fix it. And then and one time she looks at me, I was talking about something going on with her at work. And she looks at me, she goes, blah, 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 blah. And I would make her emotions about me and go, she doesn't respect my opinions.
Yeah.
And so she finally said, I don't want you to fix it. I want you to feel it.
Yeah.
And I want to speak on the behalf of the fixers, if you're married to a fixer, and probably a lot of moms are. And I'm married to a fixer. Nancy's like a relational Bob the Builder, too. Part of the reason guys want to fix is because, one, is how a lot of guys are wired, and they see you in emotional distress, and they want to save you from that.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when people are emotional, they're not being super logical, and they're talking out of the emotional part of the brain. The logical part is out to lunch a little bit. And so we're like, I think if you could see this a little bit more logically, you would feel better. The crazy part is logic doesn't lead to empathy. Eye contact and what leads to logic is empathy. So I give couples this. I'll say, I see you, I get you, and I got you. I see you. Sometimes empathy can stop there. You put your phone down and you just look them in the face. Again, mimic, don't mock. I'm just there. I mean, we're all down on our phones. If your spouse is in the middle of emotion, whether it's emotion you like or not, you put your phone down and you look at their face.
Yeah.
And if they're looking, it's very weird, but it's mirroring neurons and it calms that part. So sometimes I see you. And that's part of the celebrating, right? It's part I'm seeing you. We don't see each other anymore. Eye contact, and it also creates empathy in your brain for them. I don't know about as a dad, I used to watch, I'd just be so frustrated with my kids. And I was like, and even with Nancy, and one day I just felt this check in my spirit going, if you're going to say those things, big boy, you look at them in the face and say it. Because you can say a lot to a kitchen counter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
And so it's so powerful to just, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to look at you. And then I get you. You just identify the topic and the emotion. I can tell you're really frustrated about work.
Right.
Full stop. You don't got to fix anything.
No.
Like fights escalate because people, I don't think you understand me.
And they keep trying to tell you.
Yes. And if I tell it a different way, louder way, meaner way, then you're going, oh, no, I get it. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. Great. Now we're all clear. And then sometimes you stop there. And then last I say is I got you. That's when you take what you know about and they've just told me that me being, messy is driving me crazy. All right, Ted, pick up the towels.
Yeah.
And you don't have to agree with their emotion to validate it. Like you don't.
Ooh, that's so good.
Yeah. But it's just the two words that I would say that changed our marriage the most in the writing of this book was that's understandable.
Mm.
And
Like,
that's so simple.
that's understandable. I told Nancy one day, I was just so exhausted after traveling. She could tell something was up. She goes, how you doing? I go, I'm exhausted, and to be honest, I'm a little depressed. And she goes, after the weekend you had, that's totally understandable. And I was like, is this what you've been wanting our whole marriage?
Yeah.
Because I'd be like, whoa, you need to rest, but don't you know you were out saving marriages?
Yeah.
But it was like, you don't need to change anything. You don't need to do anything. It's okay.
But to hear that's understandable, that's a game changer.
Oh my gosh. And with teenage girls,
Oh, yeah.
and half the
True
thing
that.
my oldest one say, I don't understand any of it. But I understand that she's hurting and go, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
It's so
Marriage
good.
puts all of our flaws and our differences into close proximity. Appreciate, brother. We are bound to irritate our spouses. You talk about using the technique described in James 1:19-20 to diffuse conflict. Can you share the power of remembering this with our listeners?
I just want to give one word, and I wish I could go back to as a dad and a young husband, and to say, pause.
Mm.
Because when you're triggered, it triggers by your spouse. It triggers the same part of your brain that's triggered if you were to walk into your bathroom and it'd be a grizzly bear.
Mm.
You're not sitting there going, this looks precarious. I should probably get out of here before I get mauled.
Yeah.
No, you immediately, thank God for the amygdala, but it's too efficient for marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you say those things you swore you'd never say again. You do those things you never do. You react in that way. And so we have to implement the pause ourselves. James says we need to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. I'm going to keep it real with you. When I am triggered, I'm not like, quick to listen, tell me more. I just don't. Quick to listen, slow to speak. I can be real quick to speak. And then this word become is interesting to me. Become. It's a lot of times anger's normal emotion. You're going to get angry.
Sure.
But when it's mishandled, it takes our marriage in a direction we don't want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so just implementing a pause, Dr. Chinway yesterday on our podcast,
Love her.
and she said that she was saying for dads too, parents, like a 10-second pause, and it does so much. A 90-second pause does. Now, some of you may be thinking, I pause. I don't talk for 6 weeks. That's not what kind of
we're
pause
talking
I'm
about.
talking. I'm not talking about I'm talking about coming back around, but just having those things, it's regret management.
Yeah.
Right. And you go, I need, and if you've got a spouse that says, I need a minute, give them a minute. Don't chase them down. Oh no, we're talking about it right now.
Yeah. I have one of those. I have a spouse that needs a minute.
Yeah. I need
And
a
I've
minute.
had to learn over the years not to keep,
Yeah. Give him a minute.
Give him a minute.
I know our oldest one, I would say, I need a minute. And he goes, I want to talk about it right now. And be like, no, you really don't. You really don't. You need to give me a minute. Yeah. So if they need a minute, but if you're the ones that you get silent, you got to circle back.
Yeah.
And you got to tell them, I'm going to circle back. I need a minute, but I'm going to circle back.
Right.
And I'm going to, you got to give them a time.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. You remind readers that the purpose of marriage is to reflect the love of Jesus. Love that. How can we use that purpose to motivate us?
This was one of those things where it was like, talking to couples over the last 10 years and being in small groups and things. When you hear Christian couples talking about their marriage and why they're frustrated and how they're going to handle things, for some even why they're going to get a divorce, it doesn't sound like Jesus is anywhere a part of the equation. Their filters are the same as the world's. It is, we're called to love our spouse in a really radical way to the point where our neighbors see it and go, I don't know what you believe, but I'll have some of that.
Right.
What are you doing? Like you guys, when you're in the cul-de-sac, you're not bagging on each other. And when you reconnect at the soccer field where everybody else is like, why are you 20 minutes late? You guys look like, oh, my best friend's finally here.
Yeah.
It's this different thing. People start getting really curious. And we saw that at the Married Life events at North Point. I thought that a marriage event at church was going to be just for the inner people. And it became this incredible outreach.
Yeah.
And here's why. You don't have to love Jesus to want your marriage to work. Because if your marriage is not working, nothing's working.
Right.
So all of a sudden, people that had hurdles about church and church hurt and all those things were like, hey, I'm gonna risk it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go. And so I would say the greatest marketing tool of the church are the marriages of the church.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to remember that our marriages are not just about us as individuals, as a couple, or even our kids. It's about our community. It's our faith. And go, I see something different. I see something different in you.
Yeah.
And when we remember that and we start to love that way, and we start to see this way, Ephesians 5, everybody gets all caught up in the love and respect verse. And those are great.
Mm-hmm. But
I want us to back up. It says, submit to one another.
Right.
And to say to a man 2,000 years ago that means putting his spouse's need ahead of his own, it was revolutionary. Women are like, yeah, I've been told that my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
But it is this, it's the race to the back of the line.
Right.
And we're not wired that way, right? It is just this radical thing. I'm going to go ahead and love you first. Mm-hmm. I don't care whose time it is to do it, whose turn it is to do it. Doesn't mean you don't communicate.
Right.
Mutual submission is terrible at math, which I should be really good at it because I'm terrible at math. But it is the thing of just remembering that because it's not just about the two of you.
I love that.
So great.
Well, as we wrap up, what about the couple that's listening and they just feel stuck? Okay. What's one shift they can make in their mindset this week that might help them get unstuck?
Yeah. And boy, we've all been there, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
I don't know any couple that doesn't hit a spot. And some people are more than stuck. They're struggling, right?
Yeah.
Especially on marriage podcasts, I think sometimes people are searching and going, I need to hear they're hurting. We don't seek help until we need it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for all of this, depending on where you are, if you're really hurting, you need to talk to somebody. Like, books not enough. I mean, it could be helpful.
Yeah.
But we seek help for everything. Seek help. Find somebody. Find a pastor. Find a couple whose marriage down the road. Seek that help. Because if the two of you are you need to bring in another person into the equation. But for most people, I would say, pick one of the things that we've talked about, whether that's empathy, whether that's celebrating, whether that's seeing the best. To pick one of those areas and say, hey, I'm not going to try to do all those things that they talked about. But that one really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
And give yourself the freedom that was a lot, just to pick one and see what happens.
Yeah.
And your spouse might pass out and go, what happened to you? But it starts sending on a different rhythm. And again, we would struggle. I'd say we had moments of awesome versus moments of awful.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so all of a sudden we were like, oh, and some of these things were the things that changed everything.
Yeah.
Well, Ted, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. I think this is going to be a game changer for so many marriages.
Amen.
But just so our listeners can know, where can they buy your book?
Amazon. You can find it on Amazon,
Okay,
or you can forusmarriage.com
Okay.
on there. So you can find it there.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so much.
joining us today.
So fun. I love what you guys are doing.
So
It's
fun.
so cute. And Karen, we got to talk a little bit before we started, and just what all God's doing with Birds on the Wire. I'm not surprised, but I am very thankful and excited.
Thank you. I'm thankful as well. I mean, nobody's more surprised than me.
Well, that's a good thing to be, because it is powerful. And we, again, just like I said, people need other people to breathe into them, and you guys are getting to do it this way in a powerful way. So thank you for doing that.
Mom does
Thanks,
a great
Ted.
job for sure.
Oh, y'all are sweet. Well, thanks.
Well,
thanks
thank
for
you.
being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Mom, that was a jam-packed, amazing episode, and I'm so thankful that Ted came in today. It was amazing.
I know.
I feel
Emily
like on
asked
fire.
me before he got here, she's like, is he hard to talk to? And I'm like, no, he could talk to the wall and you don't even have to talk back. I mean,
Yes.
he's just so great. And you saw that firsthand.
Yes, but it was just so, like I said in the intro, it was just little things, easy things that you're like, oh, I can do that. And it
Yeah.
just, even talking to Ted as we're talking, I'm thinking about all the things he said to change your narrative or write your notes or little things like that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what Brian does. And this is what I'm like, I feel like so joyful because I'm just thinking about all the things that our marriage does look like and how grateful I am for our marriage. So it's just just so sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, what was the guy in his head? Fred?
Fred.
I love, y'all, I mean, that was so.
That was so funny.
I love that.
It's very practical. So everything on Wire Talk is practical. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode as well. And we're almost wrapped up with our marriage series, but it's been so good and so wonderful. And so anything, last words of wisdom?
Well, I was just thinking this is September and we all focused on marriage. So next month, we'll be back in the studio.
Yes.
Little baby will be here.
Yes.
So maybe she needs to make her guest appearance
All
on
right.
Wire Talk.
Sounds
And we
good.
need to show everybody the little pumpkin.
Yes, she's just going to be a Wire Talk baby. You know what I mean?
I think Mimi can just hold her while I answer
Okay.
all the questions.
Sounds
so
good.
y'all, we cannot wait to see you in October. So it's going to be a great month.
It's going to be a great month. And don't forget to check out the show notes so you can get the link to the book. And it's going to be a great month. So see you soon.